Grandmaster Flash, Africa Bambaataa, Kool Herc started throwing parties, and they start mixing records like "To Be Real." With he could, but and as kids, so I was too young to go. So my big brother, he was actually a crate boy for Grandmaster Flash. So this is how much Fat Joe is in woven within the culture of hip hop. Is my big brother used to carry the crates. They used to play vinyl. So my big brother had the privilege of carrying Flash's crates, but he would come back with these cassettes. And we would listen to the cassette, and they'd be like, "Back up off the ropes, back up off the ropes, get behind the ropes." And they'd be like, "Mary, Mary, where are you going to? On, that funk is on." Yo! They had a record that I don't know if anybody in this room heard, but they had this. I don't know if you've been told that Santa Claus is a black man, a black man, a black man. And I be in the house like, yo, this is crazy right here. And so to answer your question is, so growing up in the Bronx, I grew up in a project building. So our projects have 14 buildings. Our one project building had 144 families. And we had a lot of people in every apartment, right? And so the first time I heard a record go viral was The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious. And what I mean by that is when I came down the building, every floor I went to, every single apartment was
Don't push me.
What?
Cause I'm
To the edge,
I'm trying.
not to. All right, I'll give it over to Dougie.
That's your 5-time Grammy nominee, Fat Joe. All right, Dougie, when you were growing up and you were in Harlem, and part of what made rap was the beat and the beatbox, and this is the human beatbox, the first person to say, well, it doesn't have to be a machine, it could be a person, and it could be part of it could be part of the human created music experience. Where'd that idea come from? How did you even think of that?
Well, continuing on the story of hip hop, I grew up in Harlem, and there's certain people that played a specific role. There's a guy named DJ Hollywood. He is the first guy that I ever heard and to date rap. And my sister came in the house one day and she said, "There's this guy named Hollywood everybody's talking about." I said, "What he does?" She said, "He rap." I said, "What? Tell me what he say." He said, "Ring a ding a ding, da dong, da dong dong, da dang, da dang dang, da ding, da dong dong to the hip hop." I said, "Say that again." And I never forgot it. But he was the guy who inspired me as well as the people that Joe are talking about. So I was able to learn directly from Hollywood. And I am of the first generation. I'm kind of like the first child of the first generation of hip hop. So it's very interesting. So to answer your question, because I knew Joe before he was rapping. He was strapping. Maybe capping. No, but a different type when it wasn't that. But continuing on with the story. So, yeah. Just a little, keep y'all engaged here. So real short.
I don't think you're having an issue there.
Yeah. We're in Davos, So what happened in growing up in Harlem, you're around the dope fiends, the drug dealers, pimps, prostitutes. I mean, it's unbelievable what we grew up in. For us to be here now is a blessing from God, because we grew up in an environment that most people don't get out of. And we have a lot of friends that did not make it out. So we represent hip hop to the fullest, and we represent those that didn't make it out. Because one of the things that we have in common is that we don't leave no man behind. You see what I'm saying? That's something culturally that we just don't do. So in hip hop, there's 5 elements. You have the DJ, and the DJs were Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Well, Grandmaster Flash. Grand was a Theodore. These were the top guys that you knew. In Harlem, it was Master Don. DJ Hollywood, he was a DJ, but we knew him more for MCing. Number 2 is the MC. MC is the master of ceremony, which is different than the rapper. Number 3 is the graffiti artist. Some of y'all seen graffiti, you be upset, but some of y'all don't understand the creativity of the person that's doing it. Number 4 is the break dancer, electric boogie. Some of y'all probably in here used to break dance, but if you try that now, you're gonna break. Right? And number 5 is the beatbox, and I created the 5th element. So in creating the 5th element, I appreciate that. Summarizing it up, I created the 5th element because in school, I used to play in junior high. I was learning how to play the trumpet. And my music teacher, well, I came to the school to learn how to play the drums and the percussions. The music teacher told me, no, you gotta play the trumpet first. He said, and then I'll let you play the drums and the percussions. I said, okay, no problem. I wasn't happy about it, but I was doing it. So you take this trumpet home every day. And I used to practice this all the time. One day I came back to the school, and the music program was cut. As in most of our schools, when it was programs that was really engaging, they would cut them. So I gave him back the trumpet, but I used to remember the exercises. And in the way we grew up, there'd be speakers, mom and pop record shops walking up the block. So I would hear all of the different songs. So walking home, I would kind of like say, oh, let me do the bass line. Okay, let me do the drum. So if it's a bass line, remember the song Super Rapping?
God damn.
Right. So that's the bass line. So now I'm walking and I'm doing the bass line. Then I'll say, let me throw something else in there. Then I would say, I'm going to throw something else in there. And I just keep adding and adding to like. And now I'm doing all of these things. So I started just doing it more and more to the point that I started to go over one of my guys' house to practice because we would practice with the DJ. So while he was taking the records off, I started doing the same thing. And then he said, yo, that was crazy. And his mother came in and said, I like that beat. That was a nice record. You should play it. He said, that wasn't a beat, Ma. That was him. And she said that, and she said, well, he said, well, I don't know what that means, but okay. And then he told me to do it outside at something we would call a jam. It's a block party, a big block party, but it's illegal. We would plug the system into the light pole. Nobody was an electrician either. I don't know why.
The only way I could explain this is, I'm sorry, Doug.
Go.
Like when you see the movies of Easter and Jesus Christ is walking and you see like an Exodus. So you would be playing softball, basketball, whatever you doing. The minute you heard that speaker going boom, 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 you would just drop your baseball bat, your glove, and everybody would be walking towards the music, and that's where the break dancing and everything would go for. I'm sorry.
No, and that's
this
good.
is called a commentator.
That's
routine.
right. No, that's what we throwing. This is how we doing it. See, so what happened is that then I did it outside. This was never done. This is something nobody ever heard of. So when I did it, everybody was going crazy, like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. So that was the birth of the beatbox, which became the 5th element. Now the question is this: would I have created it if the music program wasn't cut? You see? So sometimes this is why I describe hip hop as this. I always say, we the willing, led by the unknowing, are doing the impossible for the ungrateful. We have done so much,
We the willing,
for so long with so little that we are now qualified to do anything with nothing. And that is hip hop.
So first of all, 2-point order. I have the easiest job in the history of moderation. And the second is, you all are at the best panel in the whole week of Davos already. So. And we got another hour of good stuff and 2 more panels to come, but we'll keep going. By the way, guys, stay a while. Why don't we make some room and pull up? There's a lot of space over on that side. So if you can, take out that bottleneck.
All I heard when I was coming, they say Davos is like, the home of the billionaires. Yeah. And I actually thought of putting my wire information behind this panel while we were talking.
I see some money out there. I will tell you that.
Some people do Cash App. I do wire.
But let's talk about money. Doug, you talked about the fact that you didn't, your music program got cut and you had to do it. I will say, Forbes is in more rap songs than almost any other brand. We're in 75 different rap songs. And people ask me, why is that? Why is that? And I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I think I have the reason, which is because Forbes is a brand about entrepreneurship and doing it yourself. And when you say, hey, I'm on the cover of Forbes, I'm in Forbes, it means no one is giving anything to you. You had to take it. And people intuitively get that and say, well, that's a brand that celebrates people who take it for themselves versus wait to be promoted by their big corporation, which, you guys have had, decades and decades waiting for that and not getting it and now having to take it. So with that in mind, how do we go from the beats to the bucks? How did, you guys have had financial lows and you've had financial highs, and now you're both riding on highs here. How have you seen hip-hop evolve over these 50 years as a creator's business?
Well, Dougie's from the golden age. I like to think that's the greatest era of hip-hop. Me personally, the LL Cool J's, the Fat Boys, the Salt and Peppers, the MC Lights, Queen Latifahs, the Slick Ricks, the Dougies, that time, right? Big Daddy Kane's, the Biz Markie, rest in peace. But when we came, which is the Jay-Z's, the Nas, the Fat Joes, the Diddy's, not to say the music industry isn't still exploiting the artists and the talent, but we came with a sense of ownership and equity. And so we started our own subsidiaries and our own brands, and we started our own clothing lines and our own liquor brands and so we came in with a sense of, all right, we ain't gonna work for nobody, we gonna work for ourselves. And we've been doing it ever since, right? And like me, I'm independent. Everything I own everything. Right? Anything I do, I own it. If you see Fat Joe doing this, he's a part of it somewhere. Whether it's 1% or 100%, he owns it, right? And so that's what I think my era came from, with ownership. And now we're thinking about the tech space, the AI space. We're thinking about the cannabis space. New York City is finally legalizing cannabis. So you better believe Fat Joe's gonna have a warehouse of cannabis. And I don't even smoke, but I'm an entrepreneur, Mr. Forbes.
And let me jump on that too. I come from what he's talking about, LL and a lot of these guys, that's actually the second wave of hip hop. And let me tell you why, because the first one.
When I said the golden age.
Yeah, the golden age.
You guys.
Right. No, that's, well, the golden. But when I'm saying the first, I'm talking about the guys that never got their just due, which is the Cold Crush Brothers. I don't feel Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five got what they deserve. I don't feel that, the Fantastic Five, DJ Hollywood, a lot of the guys got what they deserve. Right, and we can go on and on. So one of the things that I'm looking to see is something set up where the people that help build this are able to be taken care of. It's like your mother or your father. They help you get an education, they help you grow, they put you through things. And when you see that you have made yourself successful, you want to give back to your mother, your father, your grandmother. So part of my journey of being here is to get people to have a better understanding and appreciation of hip-hop so that we can do something and set something up so that a lot of the great artists that have established this can be taken care of, not in a way like you're just giving them something, but they gave you something. They gave the world hip-hop. This thing called hip hop has transformed the world. It's colorless. Everybody's hip hop. Everybody's engaging. I mean, one day
let me say one thing, right? 9/11, right, was a day where music stopped. Right? I was in New York City when it happened, and music stopped. I mean, stopped. Planes were moving. Music. It was just eerie, right? Not only because of what happened on 9/11, but with the music stopping, it let me know that if this world didn't have music, this would be a horrible place. And so music is the universal language.
Together.
You know, we go perform in Japan. Some of these people don't even speak English. They know every word of a hip hop song. You know, we seen some army guys. I'm sorry to cut you off. I seen some army guys in Ukraine going to war, and they were playing lean back. They didn't even know English, and they was saying, and they were saying, this motherfucker saying some shit on here. We need to pump this.
I don't even know what he's saying, but I know it's...
Oh, I know he's saying something. Right? And so music is one of the biggest gifts God ever gave earth, and hip-hop music. If you ever want to know what's going on in the world, you'll learn it through hip-hop. If you want to know what's going on in Ukraine, find the Ukrainian rappers. You want to know what's going on in Mexico? You want to know what's going on in Iraq? Find the Iraq rappers. Oh, they telling you what's going on.
Chuck D used to say
there's a Ukrainian rap group, Faux Show. We've had some Forbes events. And it's super powerful.
Chuck D used to say hip-hop is the CNN of the streets. You know, Chuck D from Public Enemy. And to add on to what Joe is saying, too, look at COVID. When COVID hit, a lot of people were just alone. And now that has been under control to a large degree. Here we are gathering again. So we celebrate life. We celebrate each other. It makes you have a greater appreciation for each other and a greater appreciation for life. So that's what hip-hop is here for, to heal. So I use it for the purpose of healing and to, you know, because I come from that generation that it has always been pure. Like, I do hip-hop in a form that's not practiced that much anymore. It's pure. It's uncut. So the other part that I think hip-hop is good for, and what I think we're here to really let you understand, is that I have a foundation that I did with a doctor called Dr. Williams out of Columbia Hospital in New York City, and it's called Hip Hop Public Health. So we use hip-hop to educate children. And did I jump ahead or something?
No. I'm just mindful of time.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah. It's quick, but to teach people about childhood obesity, do you see how the kids now don't go out and play? They sit there and they're on their computers. They're not engaging anymore. We used to go out and play. We would be out there chasing girls, having a good time, you know, having fun. But now,
playing wiffle ball, listening to Dougie Fresh.
Hey, you see what I'm saying? So now you're talking about high blood pressure, diabetes, anxiety, depression. So we wanted to create something that we could use hip-hop in a positive way to have impact in everybody's life. So that's where we got to go with hip-hop.
I couldn't agree. So that we've talked about the impact, we've talked about the origins. Getting back to last, because we've got, a lot of the rest of the program, we're going to focus on generational wealth. Yeah. We're going to focus how you take the culture and create wealth. And I want to, Dougie, you have one of the most sampled songs of all time. I think it's a top 5 all-time sampled song. Do you make any from money? Do you make money from when people are using this, this asset that you created?
Yeah, I make money, but you have to have the right thing.
Lottie-dottie for those who don't know.
You know that song?
When you hear it, you'll know it. Trust me.
Lottie-dottie, we like to party. We don't cause trouble. We don't. Well, I'll do that later.
Just the man that's on the mic.
Yeah. Hold on, man. We're going to get into that later now. Come on. Yeah,
so we just did that. Do you make any money from that?
Yeah. I make money from it, and actually, I was one of the first artists to ever own his masters. Actually, I think I was the first. Because in '85, nobody wanted to sign me or Slick Rick because they thought he sounded crazy and they didn't think the beatbox was what it was. So I put up the money myself. And when I put up the money myself, I went around looking for labels. I took it to Profile. He said, this is the worst record I ever heard. He said the Show and Lottie Dottie was the worst record he ever heard. I said, no problem. I took it to a little label, and then I did a deal with them. And when I did the deal, they would distribute it. And I own the masters and I own the publishing of all of my songs. So I look at it the same way. So to answer your question, I think that more artists need to own their masters and own their songs. I mean, it's intellectual property. I'm also into real estate, you know, and I say there's only two positions you can play in life. You can either be the tenant or the landlord. And the landlord is the lord of the land. You understand? So I'd rather be the landlord. So it's the same with the intellectual property. So I think that that's one of the things. When you own this intellectual real estate, I never thought that this record that we made would still be relevant today in the way that it is. I make more money off the song now than I did when it first came out.
That's amazing. Well, that's how you build generational wealth. I think with that, we'll transition to the next panel. But I will say, if people want to hear more from these guys, we got 2 hours tonight where, you know, we're going to hear the music, we're going to feel the music, and now, you know, we've all kind of seen where it came from, both in terms of the history, but also in terms of where it's going. And that, you know, what you guys have done, you guys have built the foundation that entire business and entire culture is now built upon. So thank you for all you did as pioneers. Here at Davos, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And definitely one last thing I'd like to say, I'd like to thank Cool and Dre for having us here.
Thank you, Cool and Dre.
And I want to thank my brother Fat Joe, because we go back so far, and to see what he has accomplished in his career is unbelievable. He has transformed so much in hip hop, just even on the level of Latino hip hop artists. Because there was a guy named Ruby D from Fantastic Romantic 5, and then it went to Tito from the Fearless 4, and Fat Joe has taken this thing to a level that's unexplainable. So I want to say that in front of my brother.
All right.